Looks like we are live. For anybody that's joining and doesn't know who I am, my name is Keith Kraker. I'm a co-founder here at Carbon. We're going to have Layne Norton also join for this live stream today. He said he is running a couple minutes late, but he will be here, and then we will get to answering your questions. So if you guys have questions, best place to put them, you can on Instagram, you can do the ask a question thing in the question box. Then I can pull that up on the screen for everybody to see. If you are on Facebook or YouTube, best place, just put it in the comments. It'll pull it up on my screen as well, and then I can share that with everybody. So how is everybody doing this lovely Thursday? Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Let's see. Yeah, if you guys have questions, be sure to do it the appropriate way so I can pull it up on the screen. The comments go very quickly on Instagram, so I can't really answer those ones as easily. Hello, Keith from UK. Welcome. Yeah, we thought it'd be great to do a live stream right around the new year, just because we're getting a lot of new users with Carbon, and everybody has their goals coming up for the new year. So we wanted to assist you guys, be here for your guys' support to help answer any guys' questions you guys have about Carbon, about nutrition, training, anything like that we can help you with. That's what we're here for. So yeah, be sure to ask your questions. Let's see. Looks like we're getting some on Instagram here. Like I said, Layne's going to be joining in a few minutes, but I'll just get started answering a few of these questions as they come in. And then when Layne joins, I'll pull them in here. So here's the first one. So should I hit my macros even if on some days I'm not as hungry? That's a good question. So the macro targets that the coach gives you is kind of an average macro number that we think that you should be eating to make progress at the rate that you have set. So on average, you should be eating that to reach the coach's recommendations. Now, that doesn't mean you have to eat those every single day. It's an average. So what you can do is on the days that you're not hungry, you can adjust the calorie planner so that those are lower calorie days, and then you can shift those calories to other days to where you can use those calories. So you don't have to eat if you're not hungry. You can just shift those to other days. But if you get to the end of the week and you have a lot of calories left over, in order to stay on track with the coach's recommendations for you and receive adjustments, you would need to make up whatever calories you are under. So that's kind of the answer there. But like, you can also shift your goal as well. Like if you notice like you are just not hungry, here we're getting Layne here. Hey there. I'm just
What's up, Keith?
Real quick.
Let me just jump on
IG as well. But yeah, if you're not hungry, you can just oh, we got some, hold on, let me put my headphones in.
No, Keith, I just muted my phone, so we should be good.
Okay. Yeah, if you're not hungry, you can kind of alter your goal. So like you could do a slower, if you're on like a weight gain or something, you could do a slower.
Keith, sorry, I just reposted you on Instagram too.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, you could do a slower rate of gain to bring your calories down as well. So let me get Layne in here on IG. We're pulling them up. All right, you should.
There we go.
Should work now. Okay.
All right, 1 second. Let me turn it down.
I think I will have to put headphones in.
Okay. Actually, let me mute. Sorry. This is always, I forgot how much of a pain in the butt this is. Let me mute my computer and I'll use my phone. That'll be better.
Okay. I also put headphones in. So that
there we go.
Solve some of the issues.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. If we are kind of messed up on the sound, please let us know. I think we have it solved though. Oh, okay. Let's see. I think I can just pull questions up on the screen, Layne, and then maybe you or I can take them, and then because I don't think you can see the questions, can you?
No, I can't see them in the question box.
Okay.
Guys, we're not twins. We just both have beards and are wearing hats. It's not.
Well, this is nice to read. Just wanted to thank you guys so much. Carbon has changed my life. The Calorie Planner is a game changer for sure. Makes it so much more sustainable when you have that freedom to move things around. You don't feel like you have to be perfect every single day. Like I love the Calorie Planner as well. So thank you for that. All right, Layne, do you know much about the science around cold showers and people, like, I'm guessing in terms of like recovery?
Yeah. So when it comes to like cold showers is not going to really give you any benefits. And even like the whole cryotherapy thing where you pay a bunch of money to sit in a chamber, both of those are inferior compared to cold water immersion. Now, cold water immersion is where you fill up a tub and you basically jump in the very cold water. And so you can do that a bunch of different ways. An easy, like inexpensive way to do it is obviously just have a bathtub and fill it up with ice water. So that can be a little bit labor intensive, but it's a cheap way to do things. Now, when it comes to cold water immersion, you need to understand that one of the issues with cold water immersion is while it will help you with recovery, there's really solid evidence that it actually impedes muscle growth. So they have shown this not just in terms of hard outcomes, but they've also shown it mechanistically. So if you look at the research data examining cold water immersion after a workout, the people who do cold water immersion actually end up growing less muscle from the same resistance training program. And they also have impeded protein synthesis signaling. So again, if you want, so it depends on why you're doing cold water immersion. If you're doing cold water immersion to recover faster, reduce delayed onset muscle soreness because you have some sort of athletic event coming up or something like that, or you just like it, that's fine. But understand that it is going to have a small negative impact on your ability to build muscle. Now, that's not saying you can't build muscle. You can. You're just not going to build as much if you're doing regular CWI compared to if you're not doing cold water immersion. So there are no solutions, only trade-offs.
Okay, let's see here. With the calorie adjuster, can you not add monk fruit because it adds calories when it's a 0-calorie ingredient? So I believe monk fruit does have some calories. It's probably not 4 calories per gram, but I think people use that as like a sweetener if I'm thinking of the right ingredient. But if, let's say you do have a 0-calorie ingredient, you don't even need to worry about tracking that because it's not going to contribute to your calories and macros. So if it is truly 0 calories, I wouldn't worry about even tracking it in carbon because it doesn't need to know that info. But if it does have some calories, make sure you account for those correctly.
Yeah, I'm not sure this person is actually using carbon just based on the question because it said with the calorie adjuster. So that's more about like your daily day-to-day calories. It's not so much like within a day. I'm not saying that to be negative towards this person. I'm just saying like when you pull up the calorie planner, it'll make intuitive sense as to how it works.
Yeah, so the calorie planner is kind of like our budgeting tool. Like if you're using carbon, it's like your weekly budget of you can adjust, some days higher calorie, some days lower calorie. And what it does is it'll keep the average exactly where it needs to be to hit those coaches' recommendations. So if you're doing carbs or calorie cycling or anything like that, that's where you would use the calorie adjuster or calorie planner is how we call it. All right, let's see. Now somebody's asking about heat baths for promoting the science around heat baths. There's a lot of baths.
Guys, go lift weights. Stop worrying about baths. Go lift weights. Y'all don't even lift consistently for like months, and you're worried about baths and stuff. Like,
What is
go
the
lift.
obsession with baths lately? I've never seen so many
It's
questions
this
about that.
whole biohacking nonsense.
Oh, okay.
People want to grow muscle without actually doing work.
Yeah. If you see any good questions in the comments too, Layne, you can pick those up. I'm just looking through the list of questions here.
Yeah. The magic you guys are looking for is in the work you're attempting to avoid, just FYI. Also, if you guys have questions, please put them in the question box. If you're just leaving a comment, it's less likely to get selected because we can't pull it up on the screen. So if you're on Instagram, please leave a question in the question box.
Yeah. Oh, and Layne, I think it's your laptop speaker is too loud. It's picking up my voice and
my laptop's muted.
Oh, maybe it's your phone going, then the voice is going into your laptop.
It is, but the problem is no matter what I do, it's going to pick up one of the two.
Do you have earbuds or anything by you?
Yeah, I could do that. Hang on 1 second.
Okay, that should fix it.
All right, 1 second.
Okay. All right, guys, we're going to try to fix that. Let's see if there's any questions I can. Oops. Okay, well, I'll answer this one. I pulled it up. What is more important, hitting calories or meeting macros? And if I'm going to go over macros, but meet calories, better to go over protein, carbs, or fats. So first and foremost, priority should be.
You guys hear me okay?
I can hear you. It's a little like fuzzy, maybe. Try talking again.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I hear you. It's just delayed now, but we'll see if it fixes the feedback.
Okay.
Okay, getting back to this question. So what's more important, calories or meeting macros? Calories are going to be first and foremost like the first priority you want to hit, but you know, calories come from your macros. So like the composition of those calories is going to come from the macros you're consuming. So like a quick first priority is meeting your calories, but then you quickly want to move on to making sure that your macro ratios are where they need to be to see the progress, you know, in a more optimal way. More like most importantly, the protein. If you are trying to change your body composition, protein is probably going to be the most important thing to make sure you're reaching your needs on. And you know, you could do calories and protein. There's a lot of people that use carbon that solely focus on hitting their calories and hitting their protein targets each day and see phenomenal results. So like that's like going to get you 95% of the way there, you know, and then if you want to really optimize things, then you can dial down to the other macros. But if you're going to go over on macros, but meet your calories, it's better go over protein, carbs, or fats. It's going to be best to go over on protein just because protein has the highest thermic effect, meaning it's going to take the more calories to digest, process, and utilize that protein as opposed to carbs and fats. So if you're going to go over on any macro, protein is most forgiving in that sense. Anything you want to add there, Layne?
No, I think that's good advice. You know, I think you're making a really really good point. I can't think of the word I was looking for, which is like basically what's your hierarchy of what's important, right? So the most important thing is calories. The next most important thing is protein and calories. And then after that, it's macros. So, you know, at minimum, try to be consistent with calories and protein. And then if you're nailing that, then worry about your macros.
For sure. Did you pull up that one on Facebook?
Did I? Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, do you want to answer that one?
We can answer. Oh, what happened?
Just switched. I don't know. What is
so,
happening?
Oh, my laptop is a touch screen, so I think I just accidentally touched it.
Oh.
Let me see here. So the problem is I'm resting this up against it. No, I can't read the question. Was doing great using carbon on maintenance for 4 months, then got a calorie jump just prior to major surgery that required me to be a couch potato since December 5th. Haven't checked in since, but want to now. Should I use Calculate New and create a new maintenance goal? I would use Calculate New, yes. Just if you get, I don't know if Keith, if you have a different opinion, but yeah, like I just think that if you go more than a few weeks, it just makes sense to start over fresh.
Yeah, if you have such a life change like that in terms of, or like an activity change, and like you are basically starting fresh from a new point, then it makes sense to do the calculate new. What it's going to do is it's going to just estimate based on the info you put in. If you know yourself and know like your maintenance calories and that type of thing, I would highly suggest you enter that when you do it as well, just so that it'll get, the best possible starting place for you. So if you're the person that like knows what your maintenance is without any energy expended from moving around a lot, then I would enter that. But otherwise you could just do calculate new, and then the coach will figure out pretty quickly where you need to be. Okay. Let's see. Wow, we got so many questions on IG. There's 47 in the queue.
I'd pull them up, but I actually can't pull it up since you started the live.
Yeah, I'm trying to find, let's see. This might be a good one for you, Layne. Does a high-fat diet reduce insulin sensitivity?
It depends on how you're assessing insulin sensitivity. So if you're talking about a low-carb, high-fat diet, if you're assessing insulin sensitivity via fasting insulin or HbA1c or HOMA-IR, you will. Oh my God, how's carbon better than MyFitnessPal? How do we still get these questions? Anyway,
we'll talk about that after this.
We'll talk
after
about
this
that.
Question.
Like if you assess it based on that, assuming somebody's in a calorie deficit, your insulin sensitivity will improve. But if you're assessing via an oral glucose tolerance test, which an oral glucose tolerance test is where you have to drink like 75 grams of glucose, and then they look at how long it takes you to clear it. In the initial phases, after you've adapted to a high-fat, low-carb diet, you will actually be basically insulin resistant based on an oral glucose tolerance test. Now, are you truly insulin resistant? Probably not, because it's a very transient sort of. By the way, let's not bury the lead. The fact that Keith is drinking LaCroix. Are you a psychopath?
LaCroix.
So basically, the answer is essentially no. But if you start adding carbohydrates back in very quickly after a ketogenic diet, there will be a period of time where you are not disposing of glucose well. And after a couple of weeks, that should subside. So if you're going to add carbs back in after a ketogenic diet, I would do it rather slowly. Yeah, that's kind of where I stand on it.
Yeah. Okay, back to the MyFitnessPal thing. Since it does come up often, like people that see carbon for the first time may be like, oh, it's just like MyFitnessPal. I can use MyFitnessPal for free, although I don't think you can use it for free anymore. But
not if you want
free.
If you want reasonable features like a barcode scanner and stuff, I think it's like $20 a month, which is insane because ours is $10.
Yeah, and so I mean, on the surface level, you're like, oh, they both have a tracker, whereas MyFitnessPal is like solely mainly focused on being a tracker, whereas like ours, that's like one of the features Carbon provides, but the main feature of Carbon is really around the macro targets that it gives you, and then the adjustments each week. So it will give you initial targets, which MyFitnessPal does, but their paid version, I believe, will give you macros as well. But it's just an initial, and then they leave you to just figure it out after that. Whereas
and it's very bare bones.
Initial is really just a starting place. It could be far off from what you actually need, or you could make progress for a week and then plateau. So like on Carbon will monitor your progress based on what you want to progress each week. It'll make sure you're progressing in that range. And if you aren't, it'll fine tune your macro targets so that it forces you to progress at the rate that you have set. Now you might find, it's my macros are low. Well, you're either not super active, you want to lose weight too fast. Like there's a lot of things that go into it, but the main difference between them is Carbon is focused on more being a coach, where like a macro coach, whereas MyFitnessPal is more focused on being a tracker.
Yeah, so I always describe this to people. If you hired like a one-on-one nutrition coach, what would they do? They would ask you questions about your goals, dietary preferences, and your like anthropometrics, weight, body fat, those sorts of things. They would formulate an initial plan based on those answers, and they would adjust. You would do check-ins with them weekly, and they would adjust the plan based on how you're responding. That is exactly what our app does. The only difference is it costs 1/20th to 1/50th of what a reputable nutrition coach would cost you per month. So it costs you $10 a month. And if you hire a reputable nutrition coach, they would not come with a free tracking app. So you're paying $10 a month for customized nutrition coaching, and you're getting a free app to track it in. So it's actually a freaking bang on steal. And there's a reason why we have 4.8 stars in the App Store. There's a reason why 91% of people say they would recommend it to a friend. It's because it's a phenomenal app. People love it. It is the best in the business. And yeah, I mean, we're have a huge number of members, and we've never even really done paid marketing even because it's so powerful. People have found out about it through word of mouth.
Yeah, and another huge benefit is our amazing support team as well. Like you also have access to actual human beings that can help you with however you're struggling, you know, at any point. You can reach out to our support team, you know, if you're a subscriber. So like there's a ton of value there for $9.99 a month that like most people pay, like Layne said, a ton of money for a coach to do, whereas our app kind of does that whole process for a fraction of the cost. So yeah. Enough shilling, I guess. Let's get back to answering a few questions.
Well, I do want to say one thing, Keith. A lot of people there is one advantage MyFitnessPal has, and that's that they have a much bigger database. Now, a lot of that database is unverified, so that's one thing to keep in mind. But they have it in many different countries. You know, our database is USA, Canada, Australia, and the UK. Now, people in other countries, you can still use the app. You can still get the benefits of the coaching. And really it won't take you much more time. You can track in any app you choose. And then if you want to have all the data in Carbon, all you have to do, it'll take you 15 extra seconds a day, but all you have to do is take your data and enter it as a quick ad at the end of the day, and the Carbon will have all that data, and you're good. And that's it. It'll take you 15 seconds. Just add your daily macros as a quick ad, and you're done. And you can track it in another app if you want from your country. Yep. Or as this gal said, she's in Germany and adding foods and recipes is super easy. So there you go. You can also add custom foods.
Yeah. Okay. Struggling to always hit my protein. Quick tips that isn't just having shakes and is filling. I find a lot of times when people are struggling to hit their protein is they're just they're not making sure each meal has a good source of protein in it. Like they get behind. Like if you have one meal where you forget to eat protein in, you're going to be way behind in the day, and then you got to eat a ton to make it up. So like always being on top of it and making sure that you are having a protein source in each meal is a huge thing. And like for myself, I like to set like Carbon doesn't do this, but I personally set like meal protein targets. So like I make sure I have a minimum amount in a meal just so that I'm never behind at any point in time. So like I take my total protein divided by 5, since I like eating 5 meals a day. And then I have that as like, okay, I just keep that in my mind. Is this meal above this amount of protein? Okay, it is. I'm good then. I'm not going to get behind at any point during the day. We could also give you just like, you know, the typical, these are high protein foods. We have an article in our help center that has a list of those that you could check out. Yeah, just like you're having more protein in your diet, finding ways to incorporate it, even if it's not like the main food. Like you can add. You said don't do shakes, but you could add protein powder to foods as well, like a way to easily boost protein with like yogurt. Like I'll take a scoop of protein powder, put it in my Greek yogurt. That's a huge amount of protein for that meal, and it's not really adding any more food volume for me. You know, it's just topping it off with that protein powder. So there's a lot of strategies like that you can use. It's something that you just gotta, you know, practice, get better at over time. Just always focus on trying to improve a little bit, and you know, before you know it, it'll be second nature, where you're having a hard time not going over your protein just because you're so conscious of getting the right amount of protein. So just give it time, be patient, and you'll get there.
Yeah, I think the other thing that people don't do well is they pick sources of protein that are usually quite fatty. So if you want to hit your protein, the basis of your protein sources should be lean proteins, whether it's like chicken breast, egg whites, protein powder obviously can work, Greek yogurt, low-fat cheese, lean pork, lean beef. If you're doing those sorts of protein sources, it just boils down to you either need to increase your portion sizes of these sources or you need to have them more frequently. So usually what's easiest if you're getting at least 3 meals a day is just to increase your portion size. So if you're used to having, say, 4 ounces of meat, have 5 ounces of meat or whatever it is. It should be that simple.
Do you see any on YouTube or Facebook you want to pick up?
Let me look here.
We were kind of ignoring that over there. We'll get to you guys on YouTube, Facebook. Sorry about that.
Can I use the app to prepare for a bodybuilding competition? The answer is yes, you can use it to prepare for a bodybuilding competition. We've had, I don't know, Keith, probably dozens of people that we know of who have used it. Several people have turned pro. One gal actually won her IFBB Bikini Pro card using Carbon. And basically what you want to do is figure out a rough idea of like how much weight do I need to lose and then what amount of time do I have, and then you just set that as your rate of loss and go.
Yeah, the caveat being like it'll get you, I think it'll be perfect to get you a few weeks out from your show, but like there's a lot of things that potentially you could screw up on like within the last few weeks of your prep, whereas like having a prep coach at that point to help you take it to the finish line might be a good idea. But besides that, like getting you show lean to like a few weeks out, Carbon would be absolutely fine to do that. All right. This one here, what if a coach suggests differently than Carbon Diet Coach after a particular check-in? So it sounds like you're doubling up on, you have a coach and then you're asking Carbon to coach you and you're comparing the results. I really highly recommend against this because it's not trusting one or the other. Like you're not trusting your personal coach's recommendations. So you're constantly questioning what they're doing based on what we're doing. You really need to stick to one and ride it out and not overanalyze what the other person's doing or what this is happening here. Like you need to pick a route and take it. If it's with that personal coach, fine, that's fine. You don't have to use Carbon, but I wouldn't use the coach in Carbon as well as work with a coach to adjust your macros. You can use Carbon as the tracker, but don't do like a double up on coaching, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a recipe for chase 2 rabbits, catch none. I mean, basically at that point, you're going to go with that whatever recommendation your bias is favoring, or you're just going to do nothing because you're having paralysis by analysis. This is my new favorite thing to talk about is people who don't actually do stuff, who just come up with paralysis by analysis to avoid actually doing. So the worst laid plan executed now is better than the best laid plan that never gets executed. So pick something and go.
Yeah, and the magic really is in seeing how your body responds to certain things and then acting on that in a certain way. So if you're not following one thing specifically, you're never really able to observe what's actually happening to your body and adjust and optimize over time. So yeah. All right. Is the audio a bit muffled? Is it just Layne or is it me as well?
Probably me.
All right.
It's probably mine. My headphones are $35.
Yeah, it seems a little crackly for hearing you, but I think it's better than the echo.
Sorry, guys. Buy more memberships so I can afford better headphones.
Is visceral fat different than subcutaneous fat? Is it harder to lose? What do you think, Layne?
Visceral fat is different than subcutaneous fat. So visceral fat is fat that's in the liver, whereas subcutaneous fat is basically underneath the skin. So just the fat that sits underneath your skin. So subcutaneous fat tends to be what we see. Visceral fat, you have to get an MRI done in order to view it. But visceral fat tends to be more detrimental health-wise. But the best way to manage it is the same way to manage subcutaneous fat, which is a calorie deficit and exercise.
Yeah, and harder to lose. I mean, I'm not sure. I think, the last bit of fat that you have like on a diet and you're like, oh, I still got this little bit of fat here. Like that's the subcutaneous fat, which probably like you're never going to see your visceral fat and how big it is. So like, I think visually, like it's going to feel like the subcutaneous is harder to lose because you can actually see it. But I think, overall, your body's going to burn fat based on your genetics and everything. So like, it's not necessarily going to be like you can target one or the other or anything like that. All right, freaking awesome app, and the information is great. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Muchos gracias.
Do you see any on Facebook, YouTube? You want to grab?
Let me see here. Okay, I guess I'll take this one. What is Layne's take on the claim that excess fat would be blamed on causing type 2 diabetes? It's definitely one of the causes. Okay, let me go back. If you're looking at the root cause of diabetes, I believe that obesity and diabetes, type 2 diabetes, actually develop in parallel, that they are essentially the same cause, which is energy toxicity, too much energy not getting through the system. And essentially what happens is once you have taken your fat mass up to a certain level, you become insulin resistant in your fat cells. And when that happens, you start to have excess glucose and free fatty acids spilling into the bloodstream because you cannot process them through the mitochondria at a rate that essentially gets rid of them quickly enough because you're eating more than the throughput of the system, essentially. It all boils down to calories in, calories out, but on a mechanistic level, that's what causes it. And now when you've got free fatty acids and glucose spilling into the bloodstream, that's when you have type 2 diabetes. So people who are obese aren't always type 2 diabetic, and type 2 diabetics aren't always obese, but they are usually together. And that's because they probably have the same root cause.
Okay, what is the benefit of the trend weight option when bulking? Just in general, like the trend weight option is beneficial in all scenarios, no matter what goal you're on. So for those that don't know, trend weight is an experimental feature. You have to turn that on in settings. But what it does is it basically predicts your weight at any point in time on any given day. So if you have large scale fluctuations, it's not going to be thrown off by that. And your averages also aren't going to be thrown off by that. Like if you have multiple high scale weight days, for example, that could potentially throw off your weekly average. But if we're predicting your true weight at any point in time, that isn't going to be as affected by those changes. So trend weight really smooths things out and really gets rid of any of the weird weight fluctuations that you might have. So that's beneficial on any goal. For example, if you're on the gain weight setting, it's beneficial because let's say you ate, a bunch of sodium last night in your dinner and your scale weight is just crazy through the roof. And, it takes you a day or two, whatever, to kind of get back and settle to your normal weight again. Like that event of your weight being all crazy isn't going to throw the coach off, because the coach is going to know, hey, that extra weight there, those extra 2 pounds that we see, that's just, water weight from that high sodium meal, and let's throw that away. And we know the weight is more along these lines. So yeah, the trend weight feature is beneficial on any setting. And that's an experimental feature we brought about because of, scale fluctuations and those types of things. We originally had, we used averages and stuff over time, averages, weekly average, like rolling average type things. And we found there were certain scenarios where it didn't hold up the best. And we wanted to come up with a way that worked across the board to simplify things and be more accurate with figuring out what your true weight is. So that's what the trend weight feature is. If you want to turn it on, go to settings, experimental features, and turn it on and give us your feedback, because we're looking for feedback on that and how people are enjoying that as they use it. All right. I'm looking for a good one for you, Layne. Here's one praising you for your contributions. Let's see.
We found the one person.
I don't know. I'm not sure what is the most easily synthesized type of protein? Maybe that's meaning like what is the most digestible type of protein?
I don't really know how to answer that, because it doesn't really make sense.
Maybe they're asking like, what is the highest quality protein there is? Or, I mean, because our body's not going to make proteins without, amino acids coming from our diet. So like, yeah, I guess that's hard to answer.
Yeah, as far as the best protein, I mean, a lot of it boils down to like the leucine content of the diet and the essential amino acid content. So, I mean, like whey protein is a great source of protein, and it's cheap, it's easily digestible. Yeah, whey protein's great.
Yeah. And if you have dairy issues, for example, whey protein concentrate can kind of give some people some GI discomfort. So if you have any like dairy type intolerances, maybe go with like more of an isolate. But I think, starting with more of a blend, it's going to be a good balance of like cost to like protein quality and protein digestion. There's so many questions. It's hard to pick. There was somebody asking about, I can't find it now, but somebody was asking about like, does Carbon integrate with Fitbit, for example, in activity type trackers? So do you want to talk about kind of our thoughts around activity trackers and calories burned estimates and those types of things?
Yeah, so I am not a fan of I'm not a fan of this stuff, to be quite honest. And there's a few reasons for it. The main one is that these devices simply are not accurate. I mean, that is the main reason. They're just not accurate at all. So these watches have been shown to overestimate energy expenditure by approximately 30 to 95%. So yeah, just like if we were able to add back these calories in, our app would be telling you to eat like 4,000 calories a day, and you'd be gaining weight on a fat loss phase and not understanding why. And then you'd be saying goofy stuff like calorie deficits don't work. No, it's your watch is overestimating. So no, we don't incorporate those because they are simply not accurate.
Yeah, and that's one huge difference between us and MyFitnessPal as well, because MyFitnessPal will show what calories you burn, and then it like adds those back in, and like that's so confusing for people, and it also like just prevents you from really making progress. Then you also get people then like trying to burn a ton of calories so that they can eat more food, but like your body becomes more efficient to the exercise you do and the activity you do. So like you may be thinking you're burning X amount of calories, but if you've been doing this activity for any amount of time. Like your body gets very efficient at doing these things, so it burns fewer and fewer calories as you do it. So like it's just a crapshoot to try to hit that moving target of energy like burned, like calories burned. With carbon, you don't have to do that, because what we do is we control the other variables. So we give you macro targets, and then we observe what happens to your weight. And the amount of calories you consume is going to have a direct impact on your weight. So we can kind of back calculate, or solve for what your macros should be based on how we're seeing your weight change over time. And that's going to be the most accurate way to do it. And that's why we go that route. All right. Can you talk a little bit about alcohol and macros? So I don't know what specifically you want me to talk about, but I'll talk about in the lens of like what people typically ask around carbon is like, how do I track alcohol and carbon? So alcohol is a macronutrient itself, but we don't give you an alcohol target. So like we don't tell you to have 100 grams of alcohol a day. Like it's its own macro that has 7 calories per gram. But we don't want to give you an alcohol target, because most people don't. There's people that don't drink alcohol. Like it's not like a required type nutrient that you need to get. So the best way to track it in carbon is to look at how many calories the drink has, and then allot those calories to your macro budget, your protein, carbs, and fat budget. Typically, we don't recommend taking protein away and putting it towards alcohol. So your carbs and fats, you're going to want to take those calories from those macros and kind of use that as your budget to pay for those alcohol calories. And what you need to do is you take the total calories from an alcoholic drink, and then divide it by either 9 if you're going to count it towards your fat, or 4 if you want to count it towards carbs. And that's because fat is 9 calories per gram, carbs are 4 calories per gram. So you just kind of use those calories to budget for the alcohol calories. And you can also do a mixture of both. There's just a little bit more math involved, but yeah, you want to account for it in your macros, even though it's not necessarily a carb or fat, but you want to use those calories for that. All right. Anything on Facebook, YouTube you can see, or anything in the comments on IG caught your eye?
Let me see here. This is nice. Carbon app coach is incredible. I've been using a reverse diet feature for the last 5 weeks. When will I know? Should I switch to maintenance or bulking? How long should we stay on a reverse? There's no, first off, like a good reverse and a lean bulk are going to be very similar. The only differences are the constraints on the back end, but practically they're going to look pretty similar. So there's no reason you can't just continue running a reverse if you're wanting to build muscle. So a reverse is just going to generally be a little bit more conservative than a lean bulk. As far as how long you should stay on it, it just depends on your goals. Like if you're happy with your body fat levels, your muscularity, and your calories, then go to maintenance. Like no reason, job done. But if you want to be able to eat more calories or you want to build more muscle, then staying on the reverse can be helpful. But there's no like trying to come up with, you should only do a reverse for 16 weeks. Like that's not really how this stuff works. It's more about like what level of body fat are you comfortable gaining? How much muscularity are you looking to get? A lot of these questions are internal questions you really need to ask yourself about.
Yeah. And how happy are you with your current maintenance calories? Do you want to try to push your maintenance up a little bit more by reversing more to see how high you can take that ceiling? Like there's a lot of things that need to be like your personal decision of how far you want to take it. And there is like a small distinction between, the gain weight and the reverse setting. It's not a huge difference, but like how the app functions, like with gain weight, the app is going to force you to gain weight at a certain rate each week. And if you don't, it's going to adjust your macros to make you gain that amount of weight every single week. And with reverse, it's more like there's like a max allowable amount of weight gain that you can set, and the coach will hold your macros if you gain more than that. So it's like, it's kind of taking it from the other angle of like, I I'm okay with gaining a little weight as I, build my metabolism, build some muscle, but I don't want to gain any more than X amount per week. Then reverse diet would be the best way to go with that. But if you want to force your body to gain a certain weight, then definitely go with the weight gain setting. This one here, with the app, can I do cardio as I please? Basically, my goal is still lose fat. Anyway, in terms of like the calorie outside of things, like carbon makes up the difference. So on the diet side of things, so whatever you're doing for your activity, your cardio, carbon will make up the difference to figure out what needs to happen to your diet. So you can kind of set that baseline in terms of the cardio you want to do for your goal. And then carbon's going to figure out where your macros need to be. So you can choose whatever cardio you want. Now, I wouldn't go crazy excessive on cardio, like just doing a moderate amount to start and then kind of seeing how things go, seeing where your macros stabilize, and then figuring out, am I okay with this level of cardio and the macros that the coach is giving me, or do I want to maybe try to get some more food and do a little bit more cardio? Like those types of decisions are very personal on individual basis. So the coach isn't going to necessarily recommend do X amount of cardio sessions a week. You can always reach out to our support team and they can help work through some of these situations with you. If you want some guidance on what would be maybe a good recommendation for you specifically. So yeah, always feel free to reach out to support@joincarbon.com. You can do that in the app as well. They are super helpful. All right.
I'm gonna have to pop off here after this question, Keith, just because I've got an appointment. I've got to go sign stuff. I think Aaron told you.
Do you see a question? Do you see a question?
Let's see here. Somebody's asking a lot about fasting, so let me go ahead and take that.
Okay.
Fasting can be a useful tool, but it is simply a tool regarding initiating a calorie deficit. So I would say, I think that people get like really caught up in fasting and autophagy and all this kind of stuff. And the reality is the benefits of fasting have not been shown to be different than just regular old calorie restriction. So if you want to fast, if it makes, kind of adhering to your diet easier by limiting your feeding window, then it's absolutely a reasonable tool to do so. But it's not magic. And there's no health benefits to it that have been shown to be superior to continuous calorie restriction when you're equating like calories on a weekly basis. So if you like fasting, there's nothing wrong with it. You can do it. But it's not magic, and there doesn't appear to be any really unique benefits to it, despite the rhetoric around longevity and these sorts of things. There's really no good evidence for that.
Yeah, all these short-term hacks, like people say these are all hacks because of this, it does this, it does this, it does this. When you take a step back and look at, okay, what's the difference over time of doing this? There's really, no difference in terms of, like Layne said, the longevity, the health benefits. Like when you're comparing apples to apples, like if you're looking in this very short time window, you're like, oh, there's a benefit because of this. Well, you're overanalyzing the minutia, the small details that actually don't matter. So don't worry about it.
Yep.
All right. You said you got to.
I got to jump off here, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, Carbon Diet Coach.
I will stick around.
Download, subscribe. Yeah, Keith's gonna stay on a little bit more. Follow Carbon Diet Coach. Download, subscribe. It is the best app for nutrition coaching for $10 a month. You cannot beat it. Catch you guys next time. See you, Keith.
See you, Layne. All right, guys, I'm going to stick around, answer a few more questions for you. Let's see here. You bet. I'll be here for a few more questions. So if you guys have questions, question box, Facebook, YouTube, good place. There's one here on Facebook I can pull up. Do you have a recommendation of a target for protein when in maintenance? So if you are on maintenance, if you are on a reverse diet or if you are on a gain phase, your protein doesn't necessarily need to be as high as it does if you are on a fat loss or weight loss diet. The reason being, you're really not you're not at risk really of the same amount of muscle loss as you are in a calorie deficit. So like when you are on maintenance, you don't need to have such a high protein target. Now your protein target is going to be very specific to you based on your lean body mass and that type of thing. So I can't really give you a number. It's going to depend on your lean body mass, but Carbon will give you the optimal protein range for whatever goal you're on, whatever your body composition is. It will figure that out for you and give you that optimal protein number. So that's what we do with protein. The numbers of people dropped as Layne left. Yeah, nobody wants to stick around and talk to me, I guess. That's a bummer. All right. Let's see. Can men and women do the same workout plan or any differences? I like to train with my wife. So your workout plan really needs to be specific to whatever goals you have. Like if you have a goal of if your goal is to build muscle, for example, you're going to be training a certain way, whereas if your goal is for purely strength, you're going to be training a specific way. So there isn't really like a gender specific component to it. It's just like the program needs to be tailored to you and your goals. Like most men typically don't want to necessarily grow their glutes super big. So like men aren't going to be doing glute type work like a woman may do. So that's going to dictate a lot of the difference between training. But like in terms of a workout program, you could follow like a woman could easily follow a men's workout program, but like a lot of the exercises they may not want to do, for example. So just if it's just to like be active and do things, like it's probably fine. Your wife's doing your program, but if she has specific goals or specific muscle groups she wants to bring up or work on, like that's going to really dictate what the training program should be. All right. You're still here. Thank you for staying. Appreciate everybody that's sticking around with me. I'm here answering a few more questions. I'll go till around 3. So like 8 more minutes, answer a few more questions here. HIIT versus LISS in terms of weight loss. So this is an interesting one. If you look at just, the snapshot in time of how many calories you burn, HIIT is going to burn more calories per unit time than LISS, but LISS, since you are doing more time, you're going to end up doing basically the same amount of calories burned. So like it's more of a time, I think it's more of a time management type strategy, which you want to choose, as well as like a recovery thing. So like if you are weight training hard also and doing, heavy exercises, weight training hard and regularly, like it's going to be harder to incorporate HIIT cardio into your plan and be able to recover enough for your grueling workouts. So that's where doing a little bit, maybe more LISS type work would be easier, because you can always recover from LISS, and LISS can actually help with your recovery to kind of flush out your muscles as well for like your regular work. So I think it's really a trade-off on what you want in terms of time, as well as how it's going to impact your workouts. You could also do a split between both of them. You could do, I'm going to do, 2 HIIT sessions a week, and then I'm going to do 3 steady state cardio sessions. Like that's going to be completely up to you. In terms of weight loss, it's not going to make a difference, which you choose. It's just, you're not going to be able to do a long period of time with HIIT. You can do a longer period of time with LISS. Decide whatever trade-off you want to make there with it. One is not necessarily more optimal than the other. Let's see. Okay, this is a good question, and our app actually helps a lot with this. So how does the app account for personal preferences, for example, grams of protein per kilogram body weight, or when you want to prioritize adjusting fats versus carbs when adjusting calories. So carbon has a protein range that it lets you adjust in. So the coach will give you a protein target, but that is within a range that we deem acceptable for you. So you can always adjust that up or down based on your specific preference for protein. In terms of carbs and fats, you have a wide variety of range to adjust that in. We have multiple diet preference settings, so you can set like what matches your diet preference the best. So like we have low carb, we have low fat, we have ketogenic, we have a vegetarian, and we have like a balance. So like whatever ratio of macros you like to eat in, you can adjust carbon to match that. So then when you do get adjustments in your calories from the coach, it's going to adjust that in the ratio that you have set for that diet preference. Now, the reason why we don't say like, oh, this week I want to just remove from fat, or I want to just remove from carbs. The reason why we don't do that necessarily is because keeping the ratio of carbs and fats in your diet is actually pretty beneficial in terms of reducing weight fluctuations. So carbs are going to have a pretty big impact on, your fluid balance and how your weight is. So like if you are not consistent with the ratio of carbs and fats in your diet, there's way more potential for larger weight fluctuations and swings. So the more consistent you can be with the ratio, the better for you. So that's why you set the preference based on what you like to eat, like the composition of your meals, what matches closely with that, and then let the coach take over adjusting your calories and macros in the ratio that you have set. So we built a lot of flexibility into carbon, not so much that you can, adjust every single thing possible, but we did it enough to make it as flexible as possible while still allowing people to make great progress. All right. Big thank you both for taking the time behind the scenes on a daily as well as today. This is extremely honorable. I know your time isn't cheap. Thank you, Carrie. We appreciate it. Yeah, we wanted to hop on here, right around the new year, because we are getting a lot of new users, and we want to be here to help you guys, to guide you on your journey and be a face for carbon, to know that, you're seeing who's actually behind this, and behind the algorithm, is made by, very smart people with a lot of experience in terms of coaching. So you can be rest assured that we're trying to do what's best for you and be here for you whenever you need us. So appreciate you being a member and tuning in also for this live stream. I will answer one more question today. So let's find a good one, and then I will hop off. But let's see if you guys have a good question. Pull it up here. I will answer it. Let's see. Thank you, Jackie, for tuning in. Appreciate you. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to find a good one to end on here. I will just end on this one in terms of the trend weight feature we have. So late to join, unsure if it's been asked, but has the experimental weight trend option been showing promise in the app? Seems to be recognizing my trends well. Yes, it seems to be doing very well. We're hoping to get that implemented as like the default, in the future. We just want to make sure it's super tightened up and is as optimal as possible for doing that. So we're kind of need to see all the scenarios that it gets put through, just to make sure that we didn't, forget any scenario that we need to take into account. So, but overall, it's been very promising. For those that don't know, the trend weight feature, basically, we have a Help Center article as well that it just describes it and how it works, but it basically predicts your weight at any point in time. Even if you don't put a weight in for the day, like it knows what your true weight is on that point in time. So it is going to produce the most accurate, weight data for you. And it's based on a proprietary algorithm that we designed to predict your weight at any point in time, given the information. So just like how carbon gets more accurate as you use it, the weight trend feature also gets more accurate the more weight data that it gets provided. So it will basically it looks at everything. So like all the way back to your first time entering a weight in a carbon, like it takes into account every single thing possible because it analyzed how your weight has been affected by certain things. So it's pretty complex in terms of how it's implemented, but on the surface, it's way more intuitive for the user, I believe. And yeah, so give it a try. Let us know your feedback. You can do that by going to settings and then experimental features and turning that on. We're just gathering feedback on it right now, seeing how people like it, and then are considering making that more of the default version, but overwhelmingly positive feedback on that feature for sure. All right. I appreciate all of you tuning in. Thank you so much. I hope everybody had a great Christmas and is going to have a great New Year's. For us here on the Carbon side, we're going to be doing another live stream in January. So keep an eye out for that as well. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week, and we will catch you next time. Oh, and if you guys want to, if you're not a Carbon user, you can check out Carbon on each app store. It's available on iOS and Android. Go to the App Store, download it, and subscribe. It's $9.99 a month, or you can get a discount if you purchase 6 months or a year in advance or all at once. So very affordable. Macro Coach, check it out. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.